Continuing on with Remembrance of the Cousin. So on this inflatable raft, yeah, I was very upset and angry that my cousin was, since I couldn't swim, my cousin was up on the other end of this inflatable raft and he wanted to jump off. But he sat down when he saw how upset I was. Later I was thinking like to try to reason to like why did my cousin do this? Like we were just kids though, so so at the time I was very angry with him that he was putting me in this that he put me in this situation because I was on the beach since I couldn't swim. I did not know how to swim, so I wasn't going to go out there. So he talked me into going out on the raft. So I was putting responsibility all on him. So he talked me into it. I wouldn't have been out there otherwise. And then he's standing on the raft and I'm like getting all upset because I'm thinking he's going to jump off and I'm going to fall into the deep water. So I was just angry with him for putting me in that situation. But I think like in retrospect, now that I've become an adult and I'm looking back on it, I'm thinking, I guess I'm sure he was just having fun swimming. He just wanted me to have fun too. And I I think from his perspective, since he knew how to swim, he didn't realize how scary it was for me. I guess he didn't realize because all he was thinking was he could swim and that it wasn't that big of a deal me being out on the water. And maybe I'm wondering if like later I wondered if maybe he was thinking like maybe I don't know if he was even like thinking this at all. Maybe he was just thinking I'm having fun. Like maybe he was thinking he was having fun uh, in the water and that's all he was thinking. But I wonder if he was even like thinking like if I fell in the water that he would it would be fine because he would since he my cousin knew how to swim if I fell in the water and I was like slashing around it would be fine because he would rescue me like at this time where he's standing on the raft I'm wondering if maybe he was thinking if the raft turned over it would be okay because he would he would get me out of the water. But I don't know if he was even thinking that. Maybe it was just maybe he wasn't thinking. Sometimes when you're a kid or even an adult, you're doing something and you're not really thinking about it. You're just doing it, not thinking about consequences. Just being impulsive, which can get you into trouble. So he saw I was upset and he sat back down on the raft. That's probably the most upset that he had ever seen me. Yeah, I was probably close to crying because I was very scared. Maybe my cousin was thinking about, like, I've heard like other people, like these others, like, I think more than once I've heard about these stories about like how people learn how to swim, like like they this, like someone would say they learned how to swim by being thrown overboard by an adult, which sounds horrible. Yeah, I think I've heard that more than once. Like sink or swim, that philosophy. Yeah, I don't know if my cousin was. That's the trouble of when someone dies. You can't go back. You can't talk to them. You can't go back and say what were you thinking at this moment. It's too late because they're gone. So if he was still alive, my cousin, we could have we could have talked about this and maybe resolved the issue, possibly. All right. Well, there's more. There's definitely more to talk about with this issue because it comes up later, and I bring it up later, and then I say something I shouldn't have said to my cousin. But that's gonna have to wait, which is kind of weird for me because like I'm trying to remember the chronology of when things happened and trying to make sense of why I said what I said because this happened where I was scared and upset and angry at my cousin out on the lake on this raft. But then I guess I got over it because I still have memories of my being hanging around my cousin after this. So I had this upsetting experience with my cousin and I guess I just repressed it or I got over it because I was still around him after that. I definitely have memories of being around my cousin after that. So I guess I just repressed it and I just moved on with other things, distracted by other things. So there's okay. So moving on. So the chronology is going to be a little mixed up now. All right. So me and my cousin, I remember we were. So I I live on the border of. I live in Minnesota, but it's on the border of Wisconsin. So there's a Mississippi River in between. And so I've lived on both sides of the river. I lived in Wisconsin too. But me and my cousin and my mother and I don't know who else, we were going over the bridge in the car. And I remember arguing with my cousin. We were arguing about I think he might have said, my cousin said, "Oh, I've been over this bridge more than you." And I was like thinking, I was remembering all the times that I would go across to Wisconsin because we were living in Minnesota. I remember all the times that I went across the bridge to Wisconsin to like family get-togethers because we had relatives that lived in Wisconsin. And I was thinking, no, I've been across the bridge more than you, I was telling my cousin. So we were having this argument about who had the right to say they had been across the bridge more. And then my mother said, "Yeah, your cousin he probably has been across the bridge more than you." And I was like a little like I was a little I didn't like that. My mother took my cousin's side. But I didn't know. I didn't know I didn't know enough about my cousin at that time at least because he had I guess he had some relatives across the river on the other side of the river in Wisconsin. So he had um yeah, he had some relatives over there too. So I don't know how often he crossed the river. It's getting late. I want to finish the last thing on the note here though. So this happened later. So I think this was this. I think this is even after. This might have been after the uh, the incident at Lake Village where I was upset and angry at my cousin. So I think I had already moved on from that. I remember because we were in when I was when after I had moved to Wisconsin. Uh, I remember me and my cousin we were like playing with the blender, and I remember my cousin was he put like Fritos corn chips in the blender with like this. It's kind of gross thinking about it now, but like this cheese that was like for dipping. I don't remember what it was called. There's this one product. It might have been Easy Cheese, but I think it came in a glass jar. It might have been that. So it was like this dipping cheese. So he had put Fritos and this dipping cheese in in the blender, and we blended it up. I think we liked it. It was kind of like a little gross, but I think we liked it because cheese was so addictive. But it is kind of gross to think about. It was a corn cheese dip.